Just look at this. This simplified fixed node tree is all you need to create killer grades. Welcome to a brand new series, Ask Qazi, episode 1. And yes, I'm Qazi. I've been grading for 14 plus years. And in this series, I'm going to be answering your questions. And let's check out the questions I will be addressing in this video. Ben wants to know how to prevent slowing down your system when using noise reduction or other tasking nodes on multiple shots. Angel wants to know how much time should we be spending per shot if we're getting paid hourly. Annika is having trouble getting proper tracking, especially after she applies stabilization. Crayon is having a hard time figuring out how much he should be charging his clients. Sal is looking for a one-size-fits-all simplified fixed node tree. And Khalik is looking for some theoretical and practical book recommendations regarding color grading. These are freaking epic questions, and the thing that makes me so happy is that it's literally what you guys want to know. So I know for a fact that this is going to bring a lot of value to people, and that's why I said, please stop the video, ask your question before you move forward. Angel said it perfectly. Time is money for the colorist and also for the client. And one of the patterns that I'm noticing with clients is that the budgets are getting smaller and smaller, and so are the timelines. They are shrinking drastically. So gone are the days where you have hours and days to test out different looks or build your looks from scratch. To speed up my process, I went through every single third-party plugin available, including all the look creation tools inside Resolve, and the results were less than satisfactory. And this is how Qazi's Toolkit was born. I literally took 14 years of my professional experience and squeezed it into a set of tools that will give you Hollywood quality looks within minutes. I've been using QT since the beginning of this year, and my clients are over the moon. It's battle tested, and I'm so excited to tell you that it is slated for July 4th. And if you sign up to the waitlist right now, you will get 20% off as an early bird special. Link is in the description. Let's get back to the video. All right, so let's start with the first question, which is from Ben. And he's asking how to prevent slowing down your system when using noise reduction or other tasking nodes on multiple shots. Maybe that would be interesting to address. What would be a good workflow solution for projects that demand that, since it can be quite frustrating? Keep up the good work. Thanks for the question, Ben. And what I have here is a pretty simple look going. So I have my IDT Sony to Resolve working color space resolved to Rec 709 on the output. Then we have our noise reduction applied, our balance, and using our Qazi's Toolkit, we have a pretty special look going here. And then I have a vignette blur that's adding a really nice effect right here. And that's all we got going on, okay? So first thing that I'm going to mention is you want to use your noise reduction upstream. What does that mean? Upstream means like it will be one of the first nodes in your node tree. Think of it as like shooting your image really clean, right? So basically your negative is coming in that's super clean, and then you're making adjustments later down the road. And another main reason behind this is if I go under playback and go to render cache, make sure this is set to user. And then once that happens, first of all, let's just play this clip and see what happens. If I play it, it's playing back at 5 to 6 frames, which is just unacceptable. So what can we do about it? I can right click here and I can go node cache right now. And by default, it will be set to off. I'll set it to on. Okay. So you see that little red node right here. And if I toggle on timeline, you're going to see this line going from red to blue. Okay. So it's going to go through, it's going to take a minute. Now that it is completed, and if I do a playback, I'm going to get a real-time playback. So that's exactly what's happening right now. Okay. So if we go to this shot again, if we do that, you can see the playback, 25 frames. Okay. This was shot in 25 frames. So we're getting a real-time playback, and now it's going to show as blue. And then the best thing about it is that if I go to a node after this node, and if I go ahead and make some changes, this will stay rendered. So if I play it back, it's going to play in real time. Okay. You might say, well, that's not a big deal. It will do the same thing if you put it after. Let's try it. So let's just break this, put it right here. And then I'm just going to fast forward till this rendering is done. Okay, so now that it's rendered, let's try to do the same exact thing. So I'm going to go upstream where my balance is, and I'm going to move it around and keep an eye on this node right here. You see what it just happened? Now, when I do a playback, it needs to re-render. So that's why it is a pretty rookie mistake to have your noise reduction down the pipeline. Okay, so you want to keep it upstream. So I'm going to put it back there. So those are the first two things that I would suggest. But the most important thing is when you're talking about the entire project that you have noise reduction applied on, you saw how time consuming this is, right? As I'm talking, you're seeing this line going through and it's taking so long. So the best way that I recommend, which I always do, is turning this off until the end of the project. The reason why I recommend having a fixed node tree is that if the node order is the same, you can just grab all the 60, 100, 200 shots in your timeline and you can do a ripple select, ripple change. And that is right here under color. And you can just do ripple node changes to selected clips, okay? And if you have a bunch of clips selected, it will ripple that change and it will turn off this particular node on all those clips. So in one go, you can have this done. And now we can do a playback and it's playing back perfectly fine. Get in the habit of just knowing that at the end of it, I need to turn this on before I export. So those are my suggestions for you, Ben. Hello, Qazi. Love the new series. My question would be, how much time do you have on average to spend on a regular clip when you're working by the hour? Time is money for you and for the client. Great question. I love it. All right. So here's a recent music video called Magdar that I graded for Zohair. And let's see how many shots do we have. So we have total of 115 shots and I'm in a lightbox view to look at what we got going on. And let's kill this again and just make it a little bit bigger. So when you're a beginner, the biggest mistake that a lot of beginners make is that they will pick a shot. Usually they'll go in a linear order and they'll just pick the first shot and they will spend hours grading that one shot. And then when they try to move to the next shot or the next scene and they try to copy paste that grade, it does not work at all. As you can see, there's a bunch of different locations. So my technique to approach this and save tons and tons of time is to break down all of your shots in group clips by location. And then once you have that, you are going to choose each group. So if I go right here and under groups, I can just go choose office. And now I have all the shots in office. So I'm going to start by balancing all my shots. And then once everything is balanced, I'm going to build a look that is going to be a unified look. And I will not make adjustments per shot within the same scene when I build my look. So I'm going to build different looks for different scenes, but not necessarily for different clips. And that will save you hours and days when you're grading. So hopefully this answers your question. All right, moving on to Annika's question. She said, I film with gimbals and in most cases I need stabilization to clean up the image a bit. And when I create a window after that, the stabilizer effect is totally ignored by the window. And the result, you can imagine how bad it can be. Basically, the window is tracked without to use the stabilization data, and the footage gets the stabilization data. So I think I kind of understand what she's talking about. So let's just say if I go here, right? And the way it seems like this is the order that you should go in. So let's just say if I want to track this and I can just go and click this button and I track this shot, which is pretty complicated and Resolve 19's tracking is out of this world. So this looks great, okay? Now, if I want to go and stabilize this shot because it gets a little wobbly around here, I'm going to go ahead and just hit stabilize and it's going to stabilize the entire thing, and it did. And that's good. But just keep an eye on what's happening right here. You see like how it's going all over the place? So it's not latching on. This is going to look horrible when we're talking about like if we're tracking a car or something like that. Like, look at this. So in order to combat that, I will undo this and I will go here and undo this. So all we got is our window. And I'm going to go back here and I'm going to just like latch on to the Cosman license plate. And this time I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do it in reverse. I'm going to stabilize my image first. So it's stabilized. And now when we see it, it's beautiful. Stabilized, it's great. That's exactly what I want. Now I'm going to go here and I'm going to grab this right here and I'm going to go under my tracking data and I'm going to track it. So basically it's just a sequence at which you perform these actions. And now when I play it back, look what happens. It's latched on. It's not going anywhere. rock solid. So that fixed that problem. So basically, again, like I said, we just had to work our sequence backwards, and that fixed this problem. So hopefully that was your question and I was able to answer it. So Crayon asked, one thing I'd like to know, how can I price my videography and photography work? It's really tricky pricing my work as an up and coming content creator. All right, the hack that I'm going to give you is going to change your life. And it is the most obvious hack out there. And that is reach out to photographers and videographers whose work you admire that are not full blown. They don't have 100,000, 400,000 following, right? So like look for people that are around between the range of like 2,000 to maybe 7,000-ish follower accounts. And especially if it's not bot followers, then you know that their content is good. So reach out to those guys as a client and see what they say. It will teach you negotiation tactics. It will teach you how much the going rate is for that caliber, and then price your rate based on that. But in general, I would say this. So let's just say if you're a photographer and if you're shooting an engagement shoot, I would say price yourself somewhere between 250 to 500. A lot of people might disagree with me that, hey, this is really low, but 250 to 500 is better than $0. And more importantly, if you do a good job, ask for recommendation at the end of it. So the key is not to get paid more or less. The key is once you finish the job, ask for a recommendation shamelessly. Do you know anyone else that is in the market for something similar to what I did for you? And I also do X, Y, and Z, and just be open about it. And let's just say if you're a colorist, I would say range your price between 250 to 500 for short form content. So let's say a 30-second commercial to a 10-minute short film and everything in between. So that will include corporate videos, music videos, stuff like that. Again, some people might disagree with me, but guys, get your foot in the door and then ask for recommendations. And then once you catch that snowball effect, it's game over. Sal said, hi there, sounds interesting. A simplified fixed node tree. That will be my question. Thanks. Okay, so here we are. And this footage is included. Link is in the description. A couple of months ago, did a video for Zohair. So this is a log clip from that. And this project was shot on FX3, okay? So I'm going to build a very simple, this is the simplified node tree, okay? This is as simple as it's going to get. So please don't expect anything less than 7 nodes. And once I break it down, it's going to make a lot more sense to why it's like this, okay? So what we got here is our input device transform, our output device transform, our balance and exposure, it could be the same thing, and our window, and then outside, and we have our look, and we have our texture. In this case, it will be grain. I'm trying to make a simplest node tree, okay? So I'm not trying to complicate and have 17 different texture nodes and all that stuff. Like if you guys ask for fancy node tree, I'll give you guys that. But this is what we're going to work with. And this node right here, we can delete it and we can do right click, add node outside, and it's going to give us an outside node. This is exactly what we need. So we'll just call it outside. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my color space transform here. Since we know this is S-Log3, Sony FX3, so I'm going to go in and put in that information. So we're going to choose this. And we're going to work in DaVinci Wide Gamut as our working color space. And if you hold Option and drag and drop, it will copy paste that node. Now we have to change the label. But besides that, what we can do is just hit swap and it will reverse this. And then we just have to put in Rec 709 Gamma 2.4 since it's going to be going out to Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. So now we have our proper conversion from log to Rec 709. First thing that I'm going to do here in balance and exposure, I like to work in linear. So I'm going to change my gamma to linear because everything here happens in a photometric space. Same thing as like if you are in HDR palette. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, raise this a little bit. So basically your gain now is behaving as your HDR offset, okay? And I really also like how the gamma works here. So I'm going to pull this down, but just be a little bit careful because look around here. It can get cooked very easily. So I'm just going to bring it somewhere around here. I'm going to lift this up a little bit. So even something like that, let's bring this down a touch. And now what I want to do is I just want to take my gain and I want to kind of balance it to just my eyes. I don't want to do too much of anything, but this is looking a little bit better. I mean, look at my vector scope. It's looking pretty good. So we can leave this here. Can we bring down? We sure can bring down our gamma a little bit, and that just adds a little bit more juice, opens up the image a little bit. Now I'm going to go under my look. I'm just going to park this here, and I'm going to create my look starting with my custom curve, okay? So I'm going to bring this somewhere around here. I'm going to lift this up a little bit, not too much. I'm going to create a point right here, and then I'm going to create another point somewhere around here, another point somewhere around here, and let's just lift this up a little bit. And then this, I'm keeping an eye in this area right here. And without blowing anything, I just want to add as much juice as possible, right? So even if I do something like that, and if I do before and after, it's not bad. What if I lift this up a little bit? Not bad. So this doesn't look too bad, okay? So this is a good contrast where I want to keep everything. Next step, what I'm going to do is, if I just want to lift my bottom a little bit more, I can come up to something like this and then create a point like that. Let's just keep lifting it a little bit. So we get like those nice matte blacks. So let's just say something like this. This is pretty good. And we have enough information up top. Everything is looking good. Now I'm going to decouple this so I can make some adjustments on my RGB channels in my curve. So let's just say that we want to add a little bit more magenta on the low end. And that's just this music video was supposed to be like really fun. So I don't want to add like teal and orange and get like my shadows all dirty. So I want to do the opposite. I want to make it a little bit more livelier, especially his skin tones too. So I'm just going to grab this point and I'm going to drop it a little bit. And I'm going to take this point and I'm going to drop it a little bit, not too crazy. So even something like this. And then I'm going to go under my blue channel. I'll do the opposite. I'm going to lift my blues up a little bit and I'm going to lift my blues up. And that's sort of like a fun vibe. Like this is before, this is after. Like this is just, to my eye, this is just a lot more fun. Even like what happens to the reds, like I really like what's happening here. And now at that point, what we can do is I like to lift my green up a little bit in the skin tones. So just keep an eye right here and I'm going to take this and I'm going to lift it up. And I kind of like what it does on the top end. So I'm going to put it somewhere around here. For the reds, it's up to you. If you want to add a little bit more red into the skin tones, we can actually create a point right here and you can see on his skin like what's happening. And we can do the same thing with green. We can just grab a green point and like lift it up. I don't want to do too much. So even if we leave it somewhere around here, it looks pretty good. Now, another thing that I like to do is I like to play around with these right here, the intensity of each channel. And you'll be like very surprised at what we can end up with. So I'm going to keep this right here. And right now I'm just experimenting, okay? Nothing is set in stone right now. So I'm really happy where I'm at. Let's just say that we're liking where we're at right now, okay? Now I'm going to go in my color slice and I want to do a few things. I don't like what's happening with the blue channel, and blue channel just got cooked when we did a Rec 709 conversion. So let's go ahead and control that. So I'm going to go under my blue channel right here and I'm going to bring that down all the way. And then I'm going to pull that back a little bit until we get something like that. And that just looks so much better, right? Like we got so much detail back in that blue. That looks great. Now I'm going to go in my green channel. And what I want to do is I want to add more saturation to it. And then I want to add more depth to it too. And the green is looking way better. What if we do the same thing with our reds? So let's just like add a little bit more color depth in there. And even the color added in there goes a long way. So you guys can see like these are the look creation tools. You don't necessarily want to use these tools right here, your primaries to build your looks. You want to use your custom curves and your color slice, your RGB curves, and these tools to like really build a sophisticated look. So we got something going on. I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to leave that there. Okay. Now what's going to happen right here is I'm going to go under window. I'm going to create a window like this, just something loose, nothing crazy. So, and park it somewhere around here, make it a little bit bigger. And then let's go ahead and hit Shift H so we can see what we're grabbing and give it tons of vignetting, something like that. I'm going to go ahead and invert it. So then that way, I'll hit Shift H again, and I'm just going to go under my gamma and I want to pull this down. So now we're really putting our focus on him. I also want to go under my saturation and I want to like lower it a little bit, not too crazy, but something like that. So this is a really nice subtle effect, like where we are just really putting the focus on our dude right here, okay? Next thing that I want to do is I want to go in my outside node that I created right here. And I kind of want to do the opposite. So what I want to do is I want to go under my HDR palette. I want to take my global and I want to lift it just a little bit. So even parking it somewhere around here. And if I take these two and do on and off, you can see that they make world of a difference. Okay. Now, how much you want to push that image here, it's up to you. I mean, I guess we can just do quarter of a stop. And now if I do before and after, massive difference. Final touch is going to be our grain. We're just going to use Resolve Zone Film Grain. And for the demonstration purpose, I'm going to just use the 500T 16 millimeters so you guys can really see what's happening. So if I go here, just keep an eye on this area right here. And if I turn it off, pretty clean, turn it on, we get this. So that will complete our simplified node tree, fixed node tree. And then this node tree is going to go for all your shots in the entire project. Because the way I built it, you have this general vignette. So that's going to latch on, which means you only have to worry about this node from shot to shot, and your look should be locked in. Because the way we built this look, it's not doing anything where if you go from interior to exterior, it's not going to latch on. It will latch on. And this will be my way to go about building this node tree. So if we started with this, we converted our footage, then we balanced our image in linear. We went and created our look, which is a really nice look. And we created a vignette. We created an inside vignette, brought everything out, and we added grain. And here's our final shot. S.A. Khalik said, are there any technical books you read or recommend for us to be better colorists? Color theory book, maybe, something like that. So I got just a suggestion for you. First, let's start with practical books that are based on hard skill set. So click under help and just go to DaVinci Resolve Reference Manual. Eat it up. I'm not kidding. I go through this entire thing. Every time a new version of Resolve comes out, I just grab a cup of coffee, I go through it, and the stuff that I find in there is mind-boggling. Yes, a lot of the information is going to be repetitive, but I'm telling you, sometimes it's really good to just brush up on those foundations. Maybe there are some things that you just stop doing, and then this rekindles it. Highest recommendations. Next thing is going to be if you go back in there and just click on DaVinci Resolve Training, it will take you here, scroll down. First of all, you can watch these videos. They're great. But more importantly, you can just get these. These are free. You can either buy them on Amazon. I don't know why you would do that. Or you can just download these PDFs. So this gets my really, really high recommendations. So go ahead, get this PDF. Again, eat it up. This is different than the reference manual. So those would be the two hard skill books that I will recommend. Outside of that, I will recommend these two books. So the first one is going to be Cinematography Theory and Practice, Image Making for Cinematographers and Directors. Not only this will teach you about colors, more importantly, it will teach you about taste making and how to see things from a cinematographer's perspective, which is extremely important because you guys know I always tell you colorists are cinematographers in post. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, let people know about this channel so we can have more filmmakers in this community. Smash the like button so we can reach more people. And now I want to hear from you. So drop your question below and I will make sure to cover it in the upcoming videos in this series. And until then, love you fam. I'll see you in the next one.